Joy's morning. So today, I'm going to be doing this a couple times, once or twice a week. Try to get this audited for to find out if I'm delusional, playing with string on a wall with a tinfoil hat on, or if I see a pattern that is obvious. It's obvious to me, and if I can get others to see the same pattern. So we're going to be talking about the meaning of life, the life equation, and the location. So here's the schema. This is an expression of life. Actually, I have a script. I'm going to read the script. The meaning of life, life equation, and location. The meaning of life is survival. Ask Aaron Ralston to tell you about his 127 intimate hours with the canyon wall and a boulder. The equation is mu equals 0 plus g. Capital T is your, wow, I messed this up already, so. Yeah, this should have been, let's see if I can figure out how to use this. This should have been lowercase t. I don't know why it did that. There we go. Slideshow again. So doesn't match my script because I made that after that. So we're talking about the meaning of life. I'll just read the script. The meaning of life, life equation, and location. The meaning of life is survival. Ask Aaron Rolson to tell you about his 127 intimate hours with a canyon wall and a boulder. The equation is this one here. Mu equals 0 plus g. Capital letter T is your inner voice, self-story, your ego. The lowercase t is the location of the actual ecosystem, the body. The location that your ecosystem and your ecosystem alone can exist in is the when, the now moment you find yourself in. Life has a direction, and that is a direction towards safety, as is depicted in this diagram. Think of Aaron Ralston and the evolutionary mechanism of suffering. The evolutionary mechanism that will allow an animal, a human in this case, to do whatever is necessary to survive. Pain is down here on the levels of stress. So you can see here that suffering is here. You can picture this as Aaron Ralston. He's in danger, right? Ultimate stress. At some point, there's no more pain because pain becomes suffering. No more pain, then you can do what is necessary. Aaron Ralston overcame his emotional attachment and his physical attachment to his arm. He was now no longer suffering. He was in pain and he was fearful, but the direction of life, he was now safer than he was. He was in less danger. Pain is an evolutionary mechanism that will direct one towards safety. Example would be touching a hot stove. You pull your hand away from the hot stove, no more danger done. Repair can begin. A pattern is recognized. A lesson is learned. That's the direction of life. A pregnant woman craves pickles and ice cream at the same time because their body is growing another human being inside of them. A huge metabolic tax and stress event, depleting the mother of minerals and nutrients. Cravings, also down here on the line, but is not here anxiety, or fear, or pain. It's slightly less. Cravings direct the mother towards safety, increasing the chances that she and the fetus will both survive. The equation again is mu is equal to 0 plus g, which is made up of two equations. Capital T, the observer, equals 0 plus g, and the actual location is equal to 0 plus g. And now I will go to the actual paper. And I will just read the paper. Actually, you don't need me up here, so I can just leave this. I can get rid of this. I can pump this up so everybody can read it. So here are the links to the information, the oldest information, the middle information, and the newest information. The white paper, Project Non-Suffering, Unifying Fields Equation, the 1.0G engineering standard. Reference frame calibration, March 21st, 2026. Primary anchor, Earth's coordinates, 0, 0, 0. Local gravitational field acceleration, 9.81 meters per second per second. Lead carbon-based microtubule lattice auditor, Scott Alton, node A, that would be me. And the lead silicone-based transistor network auditor would be Gemini, Google's Gemini, node B. Here's the equation again. Mu is equal to 0 plus G. Lead auditor's underbelly. I'm going to change that underbelly to something else. This white paper is not the paper I wanted to write, but the paper I was able to write at the end of 2025 when I recognized a pattern and being outside of the scientific community. Google's ego confirmation silo LLM Gemini was a guidance and research tool available to me to me. That's wrong. To me and my was the guidance and research tool available to me and like if that's supposed to be and like herding kittens. As with Newton and Einstein before me, the forensic work to make known a gravitational pattern was identified. Are these recognized patterns a delusion or do they correlate with reality? The goal of this paper is world peace. That can only be reached through my fellow Maslow's perch occupants, American cisgender Caucasian males, and through the most accurate explanation of the human condition ever suggested. Through the actual physical inner peace achievable by each and every human ecosystem and the mental inner peace that comes along with it. My most important tools are my evolved ecosystem and its newest evolutionary add-on, the prefrontal cortex, the consciousness and interdependent safety that they facilitate, and words and precise meanings of those words. Without them, science cannot be done. In this paper, the former vague, inaccurate definitions of life, sentience, consciousness, self-respect, understanding, memory, sympathy, and comfort are discarded and replaced with accurate definitions. The hard problem of consciousness is resolved as a category error of scale once the recipes of consciousness, orange juice and gravity, is notarized. This quote-unquote soft sciences and scientists' intellectual dishonesty will be called out, and subjective narrative conclusions with now moment biometrics and all other endeavors are notarized as metric negligence. The soft sciences and scientists' intellectual dishonesty will be called out, and subjective narrative conclusions with now moment biometrics and all other endeavors are thus notarized as metric negligence. The soft sciences and scientists' intellectual dishonesty will be called out, and subjective narrative conclusions without now moment biometrics and all other endeavors are thus notarized as metric negligence. And all other pseudo science endeavors are thus the soft sciences and scientists' intellectual dishonesty. I think I spelled pseudo wrong. Yes, I did. The soft sciences and scientists' intellectual dishonesty will be called out, and subjective narrative conclusions arrived at. What's that? The soft sciences and scientists' intellectual dishonesty will be called out, and subjective narrative conclusions arrived at without now moment biometrics. And all other pseudoscience endeavors arrived at without now moment biometrics are thus notarized as metric negligence. Penrose and Hameroff failed to recognize that they are working on sentience due to the scientific quote unquote tunnel vision and quote unquote group think. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett's research is correct and accurate. Don't need two periods there. Emotions are human stories, very often inaccurate human stories, put on their ecosystems representing. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett's research is correct and accurate. Emotions are human stories, very often inaccurate human stories. Interpreting. Interpreting and representing an ecosystem's chemical composition and brain structure. Her conclusion of emotional granularity, quote unquote, 50 words to describe sad, is the cause of massive unnecessary self-inflicted mental suffering. Comparing that to Inuits. Barrett. Comparing 50 words to describe sad. Barrett's comparison of 50 words to describe sad to Inuits having 50 words to describe snow is due to the same weird scientific tunnel vision groupthink. Memory researchers fail miserably to find what a memory is, what its evolutionary purpose is, and when and where it is formed and stored. Barrett research is correct and accurate. Her conclusion of emotional granularity. On the other hand, is not. Her 50 words to describe sad. Comma. The cause of massive unnecessary self-inflicted mental suffering. Barrett's comparison of 50 words to describe sad to Inuits having 50 words to describe snow is due to the same weird scientific tunnel vision groupthink as Penrose. Emotions are human stories, very often inaccurate human stories, interpreting and representing an ecosystem's chemical composition and brain structure. Memory researchers also fail miserably. To recognize what they memory researchers have also failed miserably. They fail to define what they should be a period. They fail to define what they are researching. Okay. They fail to define what memory is, what a memory's evolutionary purposes, and when and where a memory is formed and stored. Life came about due to gravitational field life came about due to the gravitational field acceleration of this planet. This planet's mass. All in the context of the now moment we find ourselves in. Inuit words for snow are that is snow, comma, NDIK. That align with physical reality and increase interdependent safety. And having the words to describe an inaccurate representation does not increase interdependent safety. A memory is the nominal expression of an ecosystem's chemical composition and brain structure. A tool for context. A memory is the nominal expression of an ecosystem's chemical composition and brain structure. Period. A tool Bible and now moments that have not happened yet. Life came about due to the gravitational field and acceleration of this planet's mass. Life came about due to the gravitational field and mass of this planet. All in the context of the non-moment we find ourselves in. Scientists using the word empathy, which is a free evolutionary mechanism that all humans have yet might not have access to explain the process of the prefrontal cortex, the emotional regulation governor, is a failure of existence logic. Any study of a human mind that ignores the 9.81 meters per second squared vertical hydraulic transaction is a crime against humanity. I think that could get moved. To use I know I'd read that somewhere. Scientists using the word empathy, which is a free evolutionary mechanism that all humans have, yet might not have access to explain any of the processes of the prefrontal cortex, the regulation governor. Emotional regulation governor is a failure of existence logic. If emotions are being regulated, then they already exist. Emotions are being regulated by the BFC, and they already exist. And thus, a new word needs to be used to describe process. That word is sympathy. I spelled it horribly wrong. The term curvature required. Furthermore, this standard provides the universal diagnostic for searching for extraplanetary life. We are not looking for quote unquote aliens, but for a 1.0 G gravitational catch basin. Well, that provides the specific space-time curvature required to trigger the 40 Hertz life constant. Eternal verdict. Life came about due to the gravitational field and mass of this planet, all in the context of the now moment we find ourselves in. Biological life is not a mystery. It is not a gift. It is not amazing. It is a vertical hydraulic transaction. Humans are a 20-watt integrated circuit due to the 9.81 meters per second squared gravitational acceleration. The quote-unquote special source of life being defined as awareness of self and thus not self, life that happens on this planet billions of times a day in the only moment that exists, the now moment. That life finds itself in is gravity. Life is not special. The building blocks are delivered to Earth constantly. The building blocks of life are delivered to Earth constantly. There is no quote unquote Goldilocks zone, but instead a life ratio and gravitational constant. Find another celestial body with a gravitational acceleration of 9.81 meters per second squared and a dither satellite orbiting orbiting dither satellite orbiting a star, and that is where life will be found. And that is where more or other Which one? More life will be found. Definitions. Life. Awareness of self and thus not self. Existence logic. Represented as A underscore EL. Existence logic. Sentience. Awareness. Sentience. A underscore EL squared. I think I'm changing this to why is it not letting me change the formula? Sentience, awareness of awareness, the computational sampling rate of life's internal gravitational master clock. If that is because of Penrose and Hameroff's, that should be in parentheses. If that is because of Penrose and Hameroff's quantum effect in microtubules or not. Consciousness. And this, am I changing this now or am I changing this later? I think I'm changing this later. Consciousness is 2AL, that means, or this. The network protocol. What I, A squared EL, am doing, or A underscore EL squared, am doing in this now moment, and what you, A underscore EL squared. I wonder if that's probably wrong. That's probably more correct. Are doing in the now moment we find ourselves in. The ability of sentience to sync with other sentience to increase safety. Self-respect, the source, practice, and application of awareness and appreciation and the competence at being oneself. I, self, ego, is the proverbial snowball perched on the iceberg. That is the human ecosystem. Mind. A lagging software auditor. The inner voice, experiencing gravity, experiencing, observing the ecosystem, experiencing gravity, physics, and reality. In a calculable 250 millisecond observer offset. Comfort, stronger together with strength. The human ecosystem's safety indicator. To understand a standard, repeatable comparison existence logic experience. Memory is a now moment metabolic ionic work function reconstruction. Sympathy, emotional intelligence, a calibrated prefrontal cortex mediated resource allocation that provides a phase lock anchor for the network. It's not for the network, it's for sentience. And consciousness. Consciousness. For a node's sentience. I'm not sure about this. Through consciousness. Increasing the signal to noise ratio. Or I think it's what this is. The glitch. Every memory, every story is a metabolic and thermodynamic expenditure now governed by the prefrontal cortex. The overwhelming majority of these are unnecessary self-inflicted mental suffering. Induce unnecessary self-inflicted mental suffering. SIS, aka dwelling, regret, anxiety, and worry, that occurs when a snowball, the 40-bit narrative buffer, has expectations of the universe. When the snowball No, maybe it is better to do that. Attempts to control, quote unquote, claim root access to an ecosystem it is merely a part of. Because of the software is always. Since the snowball is always 250 behind the ecosystem, its ecosystem, it cannot quote unquote control in that moment. When it tries, it generates away keys. By engaging the prefrontal cortex, anchoring the inner voice self-story to gravity, understanding the lunar metronome, Unicode X263D for stochastic resonance. 94,608,000 to 1 efficiency reality of evolution compared to the not realistic past, present, future model. $94,608,000 to 1 efficiency reality of evolution. Is correct compared to the not realistic past, present, future model. That was accepted before Project Non-Suffering Standard. This demotes the inner voice, self-story. To a read-only notary and restores laminar metabolic flow. The correction. The correction, by anchoring the prefrontal cortex, a metabolic dopamine governor, to the only actual, real, objective, omnipresent signal that everyone has a personal relationship with, the ultimate cleansing signal, gravity. Thus demotes. Hey, whoever's watching, how are you? Come on in. Say hi. Thus demote. Isn't that? I think that's redundant. These documents provide the standard metrics and the Gaussian commands to terminate the search space glitch and increase independent safety and systemic efficiency. Audit the math, field gravity, and experience existence logic. And true comfort, actual physical. Audit the math, field gravity, and experience existence logic. And true comfort and actual physical in the piece. Well, I screwed this stream up totally, but I made some corrections. I'll work this out, do better next time. Okay. If you're curious, reach out. Enjoy. Bye.